Hey everyone, it's time for another live look at the astrology. My name is Katie Sweetman and this is Empowering Astrology. So we are looking at the astrology of September 20th through 26th, 2021. It is really hard to believe that we are almost to the end of Virgo season as I record this. Yes, this week we are wrapping up Virgo season. We're actually wrapping it up right around a Pisces full moon, which we'll talk about in a few moments. And then we're going into Libra season. So we've got a whole, the last third quarter of 2021 to look forward to. And this is the start of a new season this week. And so we're coming up to equal parts day and night. This is something called the equinox. It happens either in autumn if you're here in the northern hemisphere like I am. I'm here in the the East Coast of the United States. I'm in the New York City area. Or for those in the southern hemisphere, because I know some of you are waking up and listening to me in Sydney or Melbourne or elsewhere in Australia or New Zealand, and you are going to be celebrating the start of spring this week. But let me just kind of quickly introduce myself. My name is Katie Sweetman. I'm an astrologer and psychic medium here, again, in the New York City area. And we gather every week to talk about the astrology, to see how the astrology is 50% and you are the other 50%. That's something that I say over and over again, because what people don't realize is that astrology is just energy. It's the energy of time. It's sort of these root archetypes of life, the building blocks of life. And that energy passes through our unconscious, our subconscious, our fears, our traumas, our conscious, our awareness. So this is why we all experience things similarly, but also experience things differently. And somebody was asking, kind of somewhat related, why do I keep saying in 2021 we got 1 foot in one life, 1 foot in an old life? Well, here, let me just take a step back and kind of get larger perspective. So in 2020, we had Saturn conjunct Pluto. This doesn't happen very often. It actually happens every about 40 years. It's one of those cycles that's not fixed, because Pluto's got a little bit of a irregular orbit is the word that I'm looking for. But 2020 was in a way a hard stop. That conjunction between Saturn and Pluto happened in Capricorn. And just for historical fun fact, the last time Saturn conjunct Pluto in Capricorn was 1518. Yes, it's a very long time ago, but Capricorn's the physicality of our life. It's matter, it's manifestation, it's structures, it's the things that sort of hold us and bind us all together, for better or for worse. Pluto and Saturn come together and says that in 2020 something came to an end. And you're like, well, look at the world. So something symbolically came to an end, and even in our own lives, something came to an end. And it's as if little fine cracks started to show. Because once Saturn changed signs and it went into Aquarius, which it does every 30 years, we started to come into what's called Saturn square Uranus. Now, Aquarius is something called a fixed sign. This is a little bit of a tangent. Uranus, the other part of this story, is in Taurus. And Taurus is also a fixed sign. The fixed signs, they sound just like that. They are meant to keep things fixed, to keep things rooted and grounded in a way, kind of like, we think about Capricorn and Earth, matter and manifestation, but energetically the fixed signs, they're meant to sort of keep our life stable. You need stability in order for life to thrive, to feel like it has something to hold on to, except the thing is that in 2021, those little fine cracks that started to appear in 2020 started to get larger, because now the pieces and the building blocks of your life and the quote unquote tectonic plates of your life are starting to move. And that's why if you look back at where things were, for the most part, I know some of you say to me, well, Katie, I feel stuck. I don't know. But for many of you, if you look back at the beginning of 2021, things look different. Maybe you are in a different space. Maybe you're in a different job or a different state or a different part of the world, or things that you never thought would change are starting to change, or at least seem like they're changing, because your life in 2021, Saturn square Uranus, it's like the pieces are starting to rearrange, but it hasn't found its new shape. And so this is why over and over again I say we have one foot in a new life, one foot in an old life, because we're still waiting for that new life to come into form. And there's going to be very specific moments throughout 2021 where we feel this tension the most, or we feel it in these sort of interstitial moments like we did in August, where things come to a head. So keep that in mind, because this week, the week of September 20th through 26th, 2021, we start things off with a Pisces full moon. Now, Pisces, it's not a fixed sign. It's not an earth sign. Now, Virgo's an earth sign. Virgo season talks about the things that we need to do in order to kind of maintain our physicality of life. You know, Taurus, the first earth sign, talks about the very earth beneath our feet, the resources and the rawness, the things that we sort of need in order to create life. Then Virgo, it says, how do we maintain this life? What are the systems do we need to put into place, the plans, how do we tend to it? How do we do that sort of detail work that Virgo is famous for? But this full moon that we're having in Pisces on September 20th, at 28 degrees of Pisces, I think that's right, maybe it's 27. I think it's, sorry, I have my calendar set to 2013, as one does. So I'm pretty sure it's at 28 degrees. I was correct. 28 degrees of Pisces and Virgo. So something that I said, I think last week. Now, if Virgo, it talks about really maintaining life and the physicality of life, Pisces is a very different sign. It talks about what's beyond this life. Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. It talks about endings. It talks about we're no longer attached to things in this material world. We're starting to think about our spiritual lives and our spiritual needs. So with Virgo, Virgo is earth, Pisces in a way is heaven. So this full moon talks about that bridge and that divide between heaven and earth, between all the mundane things that you need to do in your human life versus something beyond this. So this full moon, it's ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter rules Pisces in the traditional order of things, and Jupiter's over in Aquarius. There's that sign, Aquarius, fixed sign. Same place that Saturn is. So this full moon, in a roundabout way, is activating that Saturn square Uranus. So something about this full moon that in a way is saying we've got one foot in a new life, one foot in an old life. The thing about Pisces is we've come to the end of something. End of a story, end of a chapter, end of a long road, end of a life. And now it's time to prepare for something very new. And that may bring up a lot of mixed emotions. Pisces can speak to grief, energies or emotions that are not just ours, but really are connected to the human experience. I mean, every human on this planet will experience endings and the feelings of grief and those really deep emotions that come up. And that's something that unifies us as humans. So this Pisces full moon is both personal, but it's also collective. It's bringing us to the end of something, but we can also see the echoes of the story and larger stories that other people have navigated themselves. So there's something poignant about this Pisces full moon. It's conjunct Neptune. And Neptune in astrology, Neptune's what's called a modern planet. So it has a very different type of rules than your traditional planets, the ones that go all the way up to Saturn. But Neptune dissolves the boundaries between this world and the next world. It reminds us that we are not in control. As much as we try to do the Virgo stuff and keep really on top of the details and really organized, and it's going to be this way. And Neptune and Pisces says, maybe it's not going to be that way. And we might have to really come to some sort of alignment between our needs, our wants, our desires, our plans, but also the plans of something beyond us. I mean, there might be something called divine plans. That maybe that's not what you believe in, maybe that's what you believe in, but for the sake of argument, maybe there's divine plans. Maybe there's something that's better than what we could possibly conceive. How do we let go, trust, and have faith that actually might happen? So this full moon is putting something in the spotlight in your life. We will go through the 12 signs shortly so you can see what's in your spotlight. But full moons, they need some sort of action, a resolution, some sort of choice. Is it a left or a right, an up or a down? But then again, it's Pisces, it's Neptune. Whatever choice we do make, in a way, has to be about leaving something behind and letting go and tending to our spiritual needs. And sometimes our spiritual needs are greater than our human ego needs. That's sort of the funny thing about Pisces, is that doesn't it live in this space? Pisces, in its highest of its high, of course, Pisces has the lowest of the low, as do all signs, but the highest of the high of Pisces is those Satan-like moments, those moments of unconditional love and compassion, and those are very rare indeed. So really use this full moon to open your heart, to find that inner faith, inner wisdom. That's what Pisces is. It's not the wisdom of Jupiter-ruled Sagittarius, which is external wisdom, external faith. I believe this because somebody told me this is true, or I went to that country, I studied it. I know it's true because I feel it. So we all have to feel something this week, and so really tend to your emotions. If Virgo is physical healing, then Pisces is soul healing. But all I know is we've got that Neptune conjunction in this full moon. Neptune can make things really confusing, complicated, feel like a flood. Sometimes it's a literal flood. And then we've got Jupiter kind of picking up on Saturn square Uranus. So in order to move forward into this new life, we have to say goodbye to something. And that's the thing about astrology. It teaches us that life has cycles. And that's another thing about the astrology of this week, is that as we say goodbye with this Pisces full moon, and we say goodbye to Virgo season, we say hello to Libra season on September 22nd. So yes, it's the start of a new season. Libra is the 7th sign of the zodiac. So if Virgo, it's earth, it's about the practicalities of life and service and work and health. Then Libra, I said Pisces. Then Libra is about connection, relationships, partnerships. Astrology teaches us that we can't do things alone. We need partnership. And yes, Libra is often the sign of marriage and partnerships and romantic relationships, but really at its core is a reminder that humans cannot be solitary people. We need friends, we need community, we need a partnership, we need help. And when we have those things, life can flow, because Libra is the scales. Everything has to be in balance. So when the sun goes into Libra on September 22nd, that's also when we're going to have the autumn equinox here in the Northern Hemisphere. And the equinox is when we have equal day and night. There's that word, equal. So it's no coincidence that Libra is the scales, this idea of having to put things into balance, but at least from the Northern Hemisphere, excuse me, throat chakra, Northern Hemisphere perspective, now crossing into Libra season, it means that every day forward, we're losing light. We are descending into the underworld. This is the underworld that we will eventually go into when the sun goes into Scorpio on October 23rd, if that's correct. But this is also a reminder that, again, there are cycles, that not everything lasts, that there are times when the light is growing, there are times when the light is waning. So we have to sort of respect the cycles of life. And I think that's when we get to Scorpio season, not to jump ahead of Libra, but when we get to Scorpio season, that's what Scorpio is. One of the hard truths of Scorpio is that everything has a life cycle. If Scorpio teaches us about death, then we see that life cycle again in Taurus season. Its opposing sign as the rebirth of life. It's spring, it's fresh flowers. So yes, everything is about the cycles of life. So, you know, as we, like I said, get to this Pisces full moon today. By the way, you can go to my website. Well, I think there's even a link in the show notes to my full moon report on the Pisces full moon. It helps us to really connect to our universality. That's sort of this high archetype of Pisces. It's like, yes, we are all connected. So feeling the pangs of loss and endings with Pisces, but then coming to Libra season and also seeing this other mark of a new time in our life and a new season. But yes, you know, it's time to go into Libra. Libra again teaches us that we can't do things alone. And so if your life seems a little lonely at the moment, how are you going to reach out? Saturn is also in Aquarius. Aquarius is an air sign. Libra is an air sign. So we need community, we need relationships, we need friends, we need people that understand us. So we got our work cut out for us. And I think another reason why we have our work cut out for us is that Venus, the ruler of Libra season, is presently in Scorpio. So when we get to 23rd of September, I have to look at my notes, the 23rd of September, Venus, which is in Scorpio, it's making an opposition to Uranus. So let's take a quick step back for a moment. Uranus has been in Taurus since May of 2018, March of 2019. That doesn't happen very often. The last time Uranus was in Taurus was the 1930s and the early 1940s. This happens every 80 so years. So Taurus is about fertility, stability, money, resources, earth beneath our feet, that sense of like comfort and sensuality. And if you know a Taurus, they don't want things to change, just want snacks and just to feel good. But there's nothing wrong with that. That's what we need in order to feel rooted and stable in life. But that's the thing about Uranus, is that it's the planet of awakenings, new consciousness, shakeups, transformation. And we're doing Taurus in a very different way. So when Venus opposes Uranus later this week, it's a check-in on this story that began in 2018, 2019, some particular story in your life, particular area of your life that needs reinvention. If you want to know what area of your life, if you don't already, go to my website. There's an article that I wrote, Uranus and Taurus, sign by sign. That tells you precisely where this area of transformation is happening and has been happening the past few years. So all throughout 2021, as we have Saturn square Uranus, there are only 3 squares, February 17th, June 14th, December 24th. But there are these moments, such as this week, Venus opposite Uranus, where we have little check-ins or big check-ins with this bigger story. So there's something about relationships that has to shift this week. Trust, vulnerability, opening up, sexuality, money, power, control, vulnerability, if I didn't say that already. There's something that has to open up. And I think that's the thing about Scorpio Taurus, especially because they're fixed signs. They don't want to change. They don't want to let go, which is ironic because we're in this week with the Pisces full moon. That's all about letting go. So really pay attention to the stories that are coming up for you this week, especially towards the end of the week after we get into Libra season, because they are not these standalone stories. They are part of a larger story that's been unfolding this year, but also has been unfolding for the past few years. So I see some familiar faces in the chat. Thank you so much for joining me again and again every week throughout these really crazy times that we're in. Thank you for letting me know where you are in the world, whether it's Ecuador or Australia or here in the United States with me. My joke is that I can't travel as much as I used to, but I have to travel through you. Also, it's pretty cool that we're all around the world. But that said, let's look and see where this Pisces full moon is activating for you this week. Again, there's going to be timestamps, not in the live chat, but for those that are watching the replay, so you can skip ahead to your sign. But hey, you know what? There's good information in all of these signs. You can also listen for a partner, listen for a friend, listen for your rising sign if you know your rising sign, and of course, also listen for your sun sign. Somebody said to me, I think it was on YouTube, well, how's all of Pisces having the same experience? Well, they're not, but you have to understand that each zodiac time or each zodiac sign is running on its own time. And so there's a commonality of experience for each of the zodiac signs or even each of the rising signs. So this is why you can get good information, even if it's a sun sign, even if it's a rising sign. But of course, you really don't get the full picture unless you know your exact birth time and you know your chart. That's just part of the bigger story. So let's look at this Pisces full moon for each of the 12 signs. Aries, kind of like what I've been saying throughout my introduction, is that Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. So here you are, there is this full moon in your last sign. And it is about endings. It is about release and letting go. But this is also a time for you to retreat, go inward, reflect, get quiet. I will say that on top of that, even though this is a time that's about endings, you do have Mars, your planet. It's in Libra. It's getting a little bit of a workout right now. In Libra, it's all about relationships on one level. But that said, something has to end, and maybe it does connect to a relationship or a friendship or something in your community, or maybe it's time for you to really do a lot of deep inner searching and reflection. This is the time of year that you typically get a Pisces full moon, or it happens earlier in September or even late August, probably not in late August, but this is a time when you typically do need to look at your spiritual life and need to bridge that divide between heaven and earth. Virgo season typically is a time for your physical health, your physical service, your day-to-day life and details, but this is also the full moon, a time to let go. This, I will add, if it's relevant to you and maybe you want to use this full moon to your advantage, it is the time to let go of an attachment or an addiction. So use that full moon wisely. It is powerful, even though it's conjunct Neptune. I think people really underestimate the power of Neptune, and it is picking up that Saturn square Uranus. So something is shifting and moving and transforming, but then again, it has all year long. Taurus. So this full moon puts the spotlight in your 11th sign. So the 11th sign in any chart is about your community. It's about your friends, your social circle, how you connect to the larger whole, humanity, the collective. But it's also a part of the chart that helps you to look ahead and sort of strategize and plan for the future. So you're sort of coming off of, that's the thing about this kind of time of year, you're sort of coming off this time about career and sort of thinking about these bigger things. I say career because you did, Taurus, have those two full moons in Aquarius, and I was gonna say the summer, but I realized it wasn't necessarily the summer for everybody. But you did have those two Aquarius full moons in your career. So maybe there's a lot of shifts in your career life the past 2 months. And it's like, okay, well, what now? What next? What are my plans? But, that said, Taurus, Libra season is a time for you to get to work, to focus on your day-to-day life. But that full moon also puts a spotlight on your friendships, on your community, and even, I would say, networking. I think there is picking up some stories because Jupiter is in your 10th sign about what you need to do in order to Who do you need to connect to in order to kind of get your professional life where you need to get your professional life? And if your professional, if that part of, or that word is not quite relevant to you, maybe you're a stay-at-home parent, or you don't have to do things in that way. How do you look at your responsibilities differently? Because the past couple of months have been about really looking at your place in the world, and the role that you play, and the title after your name, and how what you aim yourself towards. So it is a bigger picture time for you, Taurus, and just need to really focus on your community and the people around you. Gemini. So Pisces is your career sign, and it's my kind of periodic friendly reminder for for Gemini, that when Pisces is part of your career story, which it is, you have to make sure you love what you do. It can pay you $1 million, but first you have to love it. Your heart has to be in it. Your soul has to be in it. You have to feel like it's nurturing you on some larger level. And so this Pisces full moon, with that conjunction to Neptune, and Neptune's been in your career sign since 2011, 2012. Again, when Pisces and even Neptune is part of your career story, it better feed your soul. So maybe you've been having this very long existential story about, what do I want to be when I grow up, or what role do I want to play in the world? And maybe it's been hard because maybe you have like a parent or somebody telling you to like do the office thing or do the safe thing, but your heart's not in it. So this is where one of those full moons when you have to make a decision about your professional life, or your role in the world, or your ambitions on a more mundane level. This full moon does talk about career. Maybe it's a job change. Maybe it's you looking at different options in your professional life. But the spotlight is on your professional life. It's also on the responsibilities that you carry in the world. And I think that there's some need to make sure that your professional life aligns with your convictions, what you stand for. And maybe you're really feeling some tension because something does not align with your convictions. But this, again, is part of a larger story that's happening in 2021, where all these different pieces of our lives are rearranging. Cancer. So Pisces is your 9th sign, and the 9th sign is about higher education. It's about your beliefs, your philosophy, your faith, your truth, your convictions. It's the way that you try to make sense of the world. And so a very mundane, practical way of looking at this full moon is that maybe you are actually going out into the world. I realize that's a little funny at the moment, but maybe you're traveling very far. If you can't travel far, maybe it's a symbolic traveling. Maybe you're trying to find answers. There's a sense to try to answer deeper existential questions, but maybe you're needing to stand up for what you believe in. There's a speaking of truth, speaking of faith, and this is also my periodic reminder to Cancer that you are definitely going through a heavier emotional time right now. You're doing a lot of deep work, and I think that the work that you're doing in 2021, 2022, and even 2023 is helping you to make sense of something bigger. Because when you go through your stuff, when you do the work, when you transform, there comes a point where it's like, okay, well, what for? What do I believe in? After everything that I've been through, what's my truth? So maybe this full moon is helping you to get a glimmer of truth. Maybe this full moon is telling you to let go of some sort of old belief that you are holding on to for dear life, because a lot of things are shifting emotionally for you this year, and as things shift emotionally, it's going to shift and to shape how you see your external world. But to go back to a couple of mundane points, maybe you are traveling, maybe you are going back to school, taking classes. This also means taking classes that will support your professional life. So it doesn't necessarily have to be university or college level classes. It can also be something specialized for your professional life. I also want to add for Cancer, because Libra, if I'm doing my math right. Libra is your fourth sign. The fourth sign of anybody's chart is about home and family. You're starting to come into a part of the chart where you need to reestablish your roots. And so maybe, again, after everything you've been through and sort of the answers that you're searching for, how do you replant yourself in life? Leo. Pisces is what's called your eighth sign. You know, the eighth sign, what I affectionately call, is the eighth room of your astrology house. It's where you have to go in order to face yourself. We all do at some point throughout the year. It is our time to spend in the eighth room, whether it's a day, whether it's a week, whether it's a zodiac month. So Pisces full moon puts the spotlight on very deep emotions. Am I in control? Can I trust the psyche, the things that you bury, the past traumas? So this is something that's coming up that might be shifting and shaking your emotional life. I will say that Neptune has been in your eighth room for almost 10 years. So it's been a larger story of you healing something very deep inside yourself. Leo, I mean, Leo we think to be such a sunny sign, but even you, Leo, have this deep emotional core. And that's where we see Pisces show up as your eighth sign. So really pay attention to these deep emotions. Maybe there's something that really wants to be expressed. It could be a grief, could be just maybe you're crying in general. I'm saying this because Neptune doesn't hold back on the tears, unfortunately. But, you know, Leo, you are one of those signs alongside Taurus, Scorpio, and Aquarius who are really seeing a lot of seismic shifts and changes this year. And maybe that's just bringing up a lot of deep emotions. Am I safe? Can I do it? Can I move forward? So take good care of yourself, Leo. It seems like a lot of tender emotions are coming up with this full moon. Virgo. So Pisces is your relationship sign. So this is just a very not traditional, normal, usual time in your personal calendar when the spotlight is on relationships. So very mundane way of looking at this full moon is somebody comes into your life or the spotlight is on an existing relationship. And with a spotlight being on a relationship, maybe you see things for what they are. Maybe you don't see things for what they are. That's the thing about Pisces or even Neptune. Sometimes we don't see things for what they are. And not to pick on Pisces and Virgo, but sometimes when you see Neptune in the relationship sign, there is a need to caretake, to heal. And I tell people, like, don't heal your partner unless you're being paid for it, because then it gets into murky boundaries, and sometimes you self-sacrifice or it's codependent. So that's just my little waving a little bit of a flag for Virgo. But that said, maybe something has to be let go of with this full moon. Maybe there needs to be compassion or forgiveness in a relationship. Maybe there is that higher transcendence that's possible. I mean, that's the thing about Neptune. It can go really deep and low, but it can also go very high. And that really asks us to leave behind a lot of our humanness whenever we meet Neptune. But that said, it is about other people right now, learning to let go, learning to let people in, learning to help other people. But you know, we are coming, this full moon is bouncing off a little bit of some eclipse energies that we've been having over the past 6 months. You know, we have eclipses every 6 months. So this has been a little bit of a turning point for Virgo, and maybe even a turning point for Pisces as well, because we did have that Virgo new moon on September 6th. But so it's a bit of a busy time right now for Virgo. Maybe not as busy as it was when Mars was back in Virgo, but it is really about other people in your life at the moment. Libra, I almost skipped over Libra. I think I did that last week, and then you all told me you skipped over Libra. So I won't skip over Libra. So Pisces is your sixth sign of the zodiac. So the sixth sign is about health and wellness. It is about work and health. And you sort of have this thing about being a Libra. You have what's called a flip chart. My dog is like walking around over here. You have a flip chart. Yeah, that's Miguel. A flip chart. So you have Pisces in the space that normally Virgo is, and Virgo in the space that normally Pisces is in. So this full moon does put the spotlight on health and wellness, and need to heal something, to let something go, to focus on your day-to-day life. Pisces does not want to work too hard. It needs really gentle environments. So if you're in a harsh environment, maybe you need to find some quiet time to yourself, Libra. But it is almost the start of your birthday season. So as the sun starts to go into, or prepare to go into your sign, you're at the very end of your personal year. So there's something about this full moon that's a little bit of, it's like, not just a little bit, it's a coda to your personal year. So as you prepare to start all over again, sun goes into Libra, what do you need to let go of? What do you need to put into the ground? I was gonna say put into the ground, like make it real. Like what do you want to manifest in the coming 12 months of your personal year? So do a lot of soul searching with this full moon, but also take practical action. Scorpio. So Pisces is your fifth sign. The fifth sign of any zodiac, any sign is about self-expression, creativity. It's about play. It's about really getting in touch with that spark that lives inside each and every one of us. So this is your season to really feel yourself, to create, to explore. But this full moon, this full moon is really sort of putting that in the spotlight. And maybe you need to think about, what do you create in this world? Or maybe you need to be exactly who you are. This part of the chart also talks about romance. So romance is in the spotlight. Dating is in the spotlight. But with Jupiter and Aquarius, and you're in the larger time, Scorpio, about wanting to settle down, this is not romance for romance's sake. Like, you're really thinking about serious questions. And Scorpio, you're one of those signs alongside Taurus and Leo and Aquarius, where a lot of things have been shifting and changing for you. So you need to like really put down roots right now, Scorpio. But as you do, don't lose sight of who you are, what makes you you. And if you've lost the spark, how do you get the spark back? And, you know, as you close out Virgo season represents the second to last sign in your personal zodiac. So you're coming to the end of something, not quite. That's what Libra season represents for you. But I think that as you sort of wrap up this time of looking at the future, looking at your friendships, looking at your community, don't lose sight of exactly who you are in the midst of all the things that have been changing this year. Sagittarius. Pisces is the bottom of your chart. The bottom of the chart is about roots and foundation and stability and emotional structures, emotional core. The bottom of the chart reminds us that we need to have a family. We need to have a home. And I realize that home and family are often complicated words. They are connected to past, maybe not so pleasant past, but this full moon really asks you to really think about the needs of home and family, put down roots. It's a full moon that could announce a change in the living situation, living environment. Somebody moves in, somebody moves out, start of a family, birth of a child, or need to really make your home environment the support that you need. I think with Jupiter in your third sign, there's something about decisions, weighing your options, needing to make some serious choices. But that said, your planet is Jupiter, because you're Sag. Your planet is in this sort of tense configuration all year long. So in a way, Sag, a lot has been changing in your life as well. But because the full moon is in Pisces, you had Virgo season. Virgo season means that the sun has been at the top of your chart. And this is about wrapping up a yearly career peak for you. And then when the sun goes into Libra on September 22nd, you're going to start to come to the end of, almost the end of your personal calendar. Need to focus on community and friends and what you want the future to be. Capricorn. So Pisces is your third sign. I think people don't really understand how intuitive Capricorn is. Pisces is in the part of the chart that talks about voice and communication, thinking, writing, learning, and you have such an intuitive sign like Pisces, and you have Neptune there for the last decade. So Capricorn has needed to really get in touch with its intuitive side, its spirituality. But this is a full moon when what you are thinking, what you are saying, and what you are, how you're communicating is really highlighted. There's a need for compassion. There's a need for letting go and surrender. And sometimes you want things to be just so, but maybe sometimes you have to align with the divine plan. I just say that because Neptune is in the part of the chart that also talks about voice. But pay attention to your dreams. Maybe something is getting highlighted for you. Jupiter, the ruler of this full moon, is in your second sign. The second sign is about money and income and sort of what you value as well. So maybe you're thinking about the value of some of the choices that you are making at this time, Capricorn. But I think it's worth mentioning, Capricorn, that it's been a bit of a tough year, a bit of a roller coaster year for you. And I know it's been a tough 13 years for you. It's a much larger story. But your planet Saturn is just in this square with Uranus. So all I know, Capricorn, is that you have to change. Easy? I don't know, but you're revealing the real you. And so maybe by revealing the real you, something has to shift in your voice with this full moon. After Capricorn is Aquarius. Think about it for a second. Aquarius, so this has not been an easy year for you, Aquarius. A lot has shifted in home, your living situation, people that, root stability, family, and it's part of a larger story of you really needing to answer a simple question as where is home and who is home? And maybe where home was in 2018 and who you thought home was with in 2018 is not where home is now or who home is with. That said, Pisces is your second sign, and the second sign is about money, income, stability, security, resources, what you value, even valuing yourself. But there is a need to find something solid to hold on to, which is ironic because we're talking about Pisces, and Pisces is not solid. But maybe this is why your value system, Aquarius, is not typical with the other signs, because you got Pisces there. You really trust your intuition sometimes, even if it doesn't seem to line up with how everybody else is thinking. But on a very mundane level, this is a full moon to really look at your bank accounts, your finances, to look at spending, kind of bring things into line, or to make goals and plans, mortgages, looking at your, even with the wrapping up of Virgo season, you're wrapping up a time when it is about looking at benefits and estates and financial planning. And so there's something about this full moon that's asking you to take action. But Jupiter, the ruler of the full moon, is in your sign, Aquarius, and Saturn is there. So there's something about this full moon that really speaks to this larger time of new beginnings in your life. And even though it doesn't seem like it, because there's been a lot going on, Aquarius, you do have Jupiter in your sign. You have Jupiter in Aquarius until December 28th. So Jupiter can give us protection, and kind of, in the sense that we're going through a storm, that maybe we're actually going to make it. So maybe this full moon is asking you to have a little bit of faith, if you can muster it. But this is all to get you grounded after maybe August and even September that wasn't so grounding for you, Aquarius. Pisces, last sign of the zodiac. The full moon is on you. So every year, sometime in September, you have a full moon in your sign. So you are in the spotlight, and this is a time when you're getting recognition for something. Life may be a little loud at the moment. All eyes are on you in some way, or you're feeling really motivated and pushed to take action somewhere in your life. I will say, and this I think is a little bit of the awkward place that Pisces is in right now. Jupiter, your planet, is in the 12th. Saturn is also in the 12th. So you have like two major hands on your personal clock pointing towards your last sign. And so there's something that has to be said, Pisces, that this is a larger period in your life that's about coming to the end of a chapter, endings and closings. That's not always what people want. They want new beginnings, they want fun times, but this has been a little bit of a personal reflection, a time of letting go, and that sort of emotional feeling of coming to the end of a large chapter of your life. And so it's hard to feel like you're fully in something right now, Pisces, because two major planets are in the part of the chart that talks about endings. Now, Jupiter will go back into Pisces on December 28th. Saturn will not go into Pisces until March of 2023. That is a long time away, but you are really focused on your spiritual life right now. At least that's the idea. But this full moon, you're in the spotlight in some way, and maybe this full moon is sort of giving you like the vision that you need to, like, what is this life going to look like once Jupiter goes into Pisces, which it did have a little short time in Pisces earlier this year, and what kind of future do I want to create once Saturn goes into Pisces in 2023? But I think this has been a little bit of a tough time. Your planet is getting that energies of Saturn square Uranus, so lots been changing for you, Pisces. It's, to be fair, it's been a lot of the case for many of the signs, just been getting it in other ways. But you're in the spotlight, Pisces. Use it wisely. So that is your look at the astrology of September 20th through 26th, 2021. Again, my name is Katie Sweetman. You can follow me online at empoweringastrology.com. Follow me on Instagram. I know those who are watching on IGTV, also on Facebook Live, on YouTube, or those that are listening as a podcast on Spotify. But thank you all for joining me. I see a lot of familiar faces. I really appreciate your support. And I know many of you are my clients, so you can also book a consultation with me. But I see you all, and I will see you all next week. We will be firmly into Libra season. Have a wonderful full moon. Take care. Bye.